Welcome to the debate. Today, we are digging into a challenge that practically every professional has to grapple with.
Yeah, capturing and managing the evidence of your entire career.
Right. Specifically, we are looking at the concept of the living professional record, or LPR.
Which, you can think of as a private, highly organized, and strictly governed database of your professional life.
Exactly. It's where you keep your receipts, so to speak. But things get pretty complicated when we introduce artificial intelligence into that process.
Oh, definitely. The risks completely change.
Usually when we think about a secure vault for our sensitive career data, we picture thick walls and complex combination locks. We worry about external hackers breaking in.
Right, the outside threats.
Yeah, but imagine if, right in the center of that vault, there was a live, open microphone, and it was constantly broadcasting out to a global network.
Wow. That is a terrifying thought.
Right? Suddenly, the primary threat isn't a burglar breaking in from the outside. The threat is what we casually whisper into that microphone while we're inside sorting through our valuables.
That is such a vivid way to look at it. You are completely shifting the paradigm of risk here.
Well, that brings us to the core tension we're exploring today. When we use AI to help process our career evidence, where does the real danger actually lie?
And just to frame our disagreement clearly, I argue that the deeper risk is that AI circumvents the human act of privacy classification, meaning the true danger lies in the abdication of professional judgment rather than just the mechanics of the software.
And I take the stance that the primary risk of AI in professional record keeping is unauthorized data exposure. Because of that, establishing strict, structural input boundaries is the absolute most critical defense against your private record becoming an AI training dump.
I see. Well, we definitely have our lines drawn.
Let's ground this in reality for the listener. Say you're building your private source layer, your own personal database of everything you've achieved.
Okay.
A foundational rule you have to follow is that evidence is not exposure.
Right, meaning just because you have the raw proof of a massive project you completed doesn't mean you have permission to expose it to the world.
Exactly. And I believe this rule is at its absolute most vulnerable the second you open up an AI prompt.
How so?
Well, think about the material's extensive list of prohibited uploads. We're talking about confidential employer documents, client information, patient data, student data, proprietary strategy, even screenshots with identifiers in them.
Yeah, it's a massive list of exclusions.
Right. And because a large language model inherently absorbs whatever is fed into it to generate an output, establishing a rigid structural rule to never upload this material is the bedrock of keeping your professional record private.
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, if you breach that mechanical data perimeter, the whole concept of a worker-owned record is instantly compromised. The machine has your data. The containment is...
Well, that is a compelling argument. But have you considered that by focusing so heavily on the structural perimeter, you are missing the human failure that causes the breach in the first place?
The human failure is just typing it into the prompt, right?
I absolutely agree that raw uploading is incredibly dangerous. You shouldn't do it. But we have to ask why someone does it. There is a crucial concept here.
Okay, go on.
The text explicitly states that AI may help later from governed, safe source material. But AI should never become a shortcut around privacy classification.
A shortcut, right.
Yes, that word is everything. The foundational principle here is that privacy is an intrinsic part of professional truth.
Oh, absolutely.
So if a worker outsources the intellectual labor of deciding what information is public, or what should only be a high-level summary, to an algorithm, they haven't just leaked data.
What have they done then?
They have lost control of their own narrative. The primary threat isn't that the software acts like a vacuum. It's that the human gets lazy and allows the AI to do the privacy thinking that they are personally required to do.
I see why you think that, but let me give you a different perspective on how this actually plays out mechanically when you're sitting at your computer.
Sure, let's hear it.
Imagine a listener who just finished leading a highly confidential corporate merger.
A very sensitive situation.
Extremely. They have a massive, detailed project report, and they want to turn that into 3 bullet points for their resume.
Right.
If they paste that raw report into a prompt and say, turn this confidential client report into resume bullets, they have committed a massive violation.
Oh, a huge one, absolutely.
So the safe way to do this relies entirely on the mechanical containment of the original artifact.
You mean the prompt itself?
Exactly. Instead of the raw report, they would feed the AI a non-confidential summary and give it strict technical instructions.
Like what kind of instructions?
Things like ordering the AI not to invent metrics, not to hallucinate client names, tools, or outcomes. To me, this proves the risk is fundamentally about containing the original document.
I'm sorry, but I just do not buy that the broadcasting analogy captures the real dynamic at play here.
Why not? Think back to that microphone in the vault. Once the raw, confidential details of that merger are spoken into that public broadcasting system, it ceases to be your private source layer.
Because the AI isn't a passive microphone broadcasting to the world, it is more like a high-speed sorting machine on a factory floor.
Okay, a sorting machine.
Right. This machine is eager. It is incredibly efficient at processing volume, but it is completely blind to context. It cannot read the delicate handle with care labels on the boxes you feed it.
Which is why you don't feed it the delicate boxes in the first place.
Exactly. But to manage this, you have to use something like a privacy and exclusion log from the toolkit.
Which is essentially a tracking system where you deliberately map out what pieces of evidence you have and how they're allowed to be used, right?
Yes. It forces you, the human, to track the item and explicitly define an AI upload status before you even open up your browser.
So you're making the decision offline.
Precisely. You have to look at an internal checklist and deliberately label it, "Do not upload." If you haven't mapped out that claim map and privacy layer first, you are letting this blind sorting machine build your professional narrative.
That is an interesting point, though. I would frame it differently.
How so?
Well, I completely agree that tracking your privacy boundaries is vital, but let's talk about the actual transition moment.
You mean moving material from private to public?
Yeah, how do we move material from that purely private, lockdown state into something the AI can actually assist us with? Because even if you know a project is highly sensitive, you still want to be able to write about the skills you used on that project.
Well, that requires profound human judgment.
Right, but how do we make it safe for the machine? This is where the structural rules come into play, mandating the use of placeholders and generalized summaries in the prompt itself.
But creating those generalized summaries requires that intellectual labor I mentioned. There is a trap a lot of people fall into where they believe redaction is magic.
Oh yeah, the idea that you can just take that merger document, run a find and replace to swap out Acme Corp with client A, and suddenly it's perfectly safe to upload?
Precisely. And it is a dangerous illusion. Large language models are, at their core, sophisticated pattern recognition engines.
So they can figure it out anyway.
Exactly. Even if you strip out every single proper noun, if you leave in the exact timeline, the highly specific legacy software systems you decommissioned, and the unique geographical logistics problem you solved, you haven't protected the client.
You've just created a very solvable puzzle for the algorithm.
Yes. Therefore, simply scrubbing a document mechanically and tossing it into the AI is a false security. The human must step in and synthesize a true, safe summary prior to AI use.
Give me an example of what that synthesis actually looks like in practice. How does it differ from just redacting?
Let's say you have a highly detailed, confidential document about implementing a new patient tracking system in a highly regulated hospital network.
Okay, lots of compliance issues there.
Tons. Instead of redacting the hospital's name and feeding the multi-page document to the AI, you have to mentally distill the essence of your work. You create a safe summary that says, supported documentation and coordination for a regulated implementation environment.
Right, totally stripped of the sensitive specifics.
That is what you feed the AI. That cognitive distillation, the intellectual labor of creating that summary, is the actual firewall. The AI prompt boundary is just secondary.
I am not convinced by that line of reasoning, honestly, because I think it underestimates the sheer power of the technical boundaries we have to place on the machine itself.
But the human makes those boundaries.
I will acknowledge that redaction has limits. Taking a black marker to a sensitive document and throwing it into a large language model is reckless.
Truly reckless.
But utilizing generalized summaries alongside specific placeholders and clear instructions inside the prompt is exactly how you govern the AI mechanically. Think about the architecture of these models.
Okay, I'm listening.
Even if you do the hard work and feed it a perfect, high-level safe summary like the one you just described, the AI is designed to extrapolate. It hates a vacuum.
That is very true.
It wants to fill in the blanks to make the writing sound more authoritative. That is why creating technical boundaries, literally ordering the machine to preserve the claim boundaries and not invent outcomes, is the ultimate act of modern professional governance.
But notice what you just said. You have to order the machine not to invent outcomes.
Right.
You are still relying on a human command to restrict a machine that inherently wants to overstep. Let's look at the other side of this process, the final output.
The actual rendering the AI hands back to you.
Yes, after you use AI, you are required to review the output claim by claim. You can't just copy and paste it to LinkedIn.
Because the AI might completely ignore your instructions?
Exactly. It might hallucinate a specific project management tool you never actually used because it statistically frequently appears alongside the skills you mentioned.
So that rigorous review process acts as a final failsafe.
I would argue it is much more than a failsafe. It is the ultimate proof that the core risk here is philosophical and judgmental. It connects directly to a central doctrine of professional record-keeping.
Which one?
That a claim can be 100% factually true and still be unsafe to render publicly.
That is a really critical distinction to unpack. The difference between truth and safety.
It is the whole ballgame. Let's say the AI output generates a beautifully written resume bullet about a team you managed. The fact within it is completely accurate.
So mechanically, the AI has succeeded.
Right, it followed your prompt. But what if that claim leverages the name of a witness, say a junior developer on your team, who has not given you explicit consent to use their name in your public portfolio?
The machine cannot possibly know that they haven't given you permission.
Exactly. The machine cannot know the complex web of human permissions and corporate NDAs you are bound by. That is why AI use fundamentally belongs inside human governance. Your cognitive privacy judgment is the only true firewall.
I see the elegance in that argument, but I think the very scenario you just described actually proves my point about where the inherent risk resides.
How so?
You were describing the external tool, the AI, as an entity that constantly threatens to overstep, to hallucinate, to expose. It is a chaotic variable in an otherwise controlled environment.
It's a risk, yes, but the failure is human.
The very fact that we have to meticulously review the output, claim by claim, hunting for invented metrics or unconsented witness names, proves that the external tool itself is the inherent risk, requiring strict containment.
But the doctrine that proof is not permission holds true whether you are writing a proposal yourself or an AI is drafting it.
True, but an AI has the capacity to instantly generate, extrapolate, and potentially expose hundreds of claims across multiple platforms if it isn't structurally contained from the jump.
I see what you mean about scale.
That is why the fundamental rule is so rigid about the input. It says, do not upload protected material. It doesn't say upload it and just think really hard about the privacy implications. It is a binary structural command. Do not do it.
It says do not do it because, again, bypassing that rule bypasses the entire categorization process. Think about the spectrum of privacy labels we have to apply to our work.
You mean it's not just a simple binary of public or private?
Exactly. We have incredible nuance. We have information that is shareable with care, or summary only. We have interview memory, meaning you can talk about it behind closed doors but not write it down. And we have metadata only.
Which is a great concept. Let's explain how metadata only works for the listener.
Sure. A metadata-only label means you are preserving general information about the mere existence of an item, like the type of document or the date it was created. But the artifact itself should absolutely not be retained, uploaded, or shown to anyone.
For example, let's say you contributed to a highly sensitive internal quarterly financial report.
Right. Human judgment dictates, I cannot upload this report. I shouldn't even keep a copy of it. I will simply create a metadata-only entry in my private record to support my own memory.
And the AI cannot make that kind of nuanced distinction.
No, it can't. If you feed the AI the report, the AI just sees text that needs to be summarized. The profound risk of AI is that it flattens all of this necessary professional nuance.
It tempts the user to take the easy way out.
Yes. It tempts the user to say, I'm too tired to categorize this. I'll just throw the whole Q2 report into the prompt and let the algorithm sort out what's important. That is a shortcut around doing the actual work of being a professional.
Which brings us right back to the mechanical inputs. If the user obeys the strict structural boundary, the AI cannot flatten the nuance because it never touches the document in the first place.
Wait, no. The thought process has to come first.
But the structural rule protects the philosophical sequence. By establishing a hard, unyielding perimeter at the prompt, we force ourselves to utilize frameworks like metadata only or to write a safe summary.
I disagree.
The prompt boundary is the enforcer of the governance. Without the mechanical rule, the philosophy falls apart the moment someone is in a rush.
I'm sorry, but I would argue it is exactly the other way around. The governance is the enforcer of the prompt boundary. A user who doesn't understand why evidence is not exposure will eventually find a way to break your mechanical rules.
Because they think they found a loophole?
Yes. They'll think, well, I'm using a private enterprise instance of ChatGPT, so it's secure, it's fine. They completely miss the point that your professional record must not become an employer's surveillance file or liability.
Right. They misunderstand the core objective.
There is a real danger of getting caught in a credential arms race, where professionals feel pressure to expose more and more raw proof just to prove they did the work. That is a philosophical outcome.
That is a profound point. The goal of managing your career evidence is not to expose the strongest, most granular proof possible. The goal is to preserve just enough governed proof to support your claims safely.
Yes, and AI, by its very design, wants to optimize for the strongest, most detailed, most persuasive output possible.
It inherently wants to give you the most aggressive, data-heavy resume bullet it can generate.
Exactly. It is fundamentally at odds with the concept of using the minimum necessary proof. That is exactly why the human sequence of governance must wrap around the AI entirely. The tool must be subordinated to human judgment.
Well, I think we have reached a really illuminating point of tension here, and it's probably time to pull these threads together as we conclude.
Agreed. It has been a rigorous look at how we handle our most sensitive career data in the age of generative AI.
To summarize my position, I maintain that the strict structural boundaries against uploading protected material are the essential defense mechanisms. These mechanical boundaries are what keep your record truly yours and prevent your hard-earned career evidence from becoming an uncontrolled AI training dump.
And my position remains that while those structural boundaries are undoubtedly necessary, AI's greatest risk is functioning as a seductive shortcut around the intellectual labor of privacy classification.
The human element.
Yes, the rigorous human application of tracking tools and the vital cognitive work of creating safe summaries before a software window is even opened is the true safeguard. The ultimate risk isn't the machine, it's our own abdication of judgment.
Yet despite our different angles of approach, we clearly converge on the foundational principles of professional record keeping. We both strongly agree on the core doctrines that proof is not permission and evidence is not exposure.
Absolutely. We are completely aligned on the fact that AI must operate strictly downstream of human governance. It should only ever utilize safe, generalized source material.
The raw, sensitive evidence of your career must never be the input.
Never.
It is a remarkable challenge for anyone trying to navigate their career today. The tension between utilizing incredibly powerful new technologies for efficiency while simultaneously maintaining a rigorous, privacy-aware grip on your professional truth is not going to disappear.
No, it requires constant vigilance. And there's always more nuance to how these principles apply to specific surfaces, like public portfolios or proposals. There is always more to explore in the material.
Exactly. Which leaves us to consider where the ultimate locus of risk truly resides for each of us in our own daily workflows.
Back to the vault metaphor.
Right. Think back to that vault we started with. Whether you're more worried about the microphone broadcasting your secrets or the fact that you might just forget to lock the door before you start talking, Or wait, no, I mean forget to check your own labels before you start talking. The practical lesson is the same.
Your professional record is private by default.
Exactly. What you choose to whisper into the machine is entirely up to you. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next time on The Debate.